Hey guys, glad to be here. First of all, I think we can all say amazing job on the end of Saga. You know, they've had an amazing event, and we're super excited to talk a bit about Consensys, Ethereum scaling, quite simply, and how we envision gaming. Okay, there we go. So really quickly, Consensys. Founded back in 2014, Consensys is one of the leading Ethereum software companies. What's our goal? It's really to bring Web3 to the world, right? To the average user, regardless of location. How do we do this? Well, we have a whole wide range of products, some which you most likely have used if you're, playing around in crypto. So that's going to be MetaMask, which is the leading Ethereum wallet. Actually, crypto wallet, that's non-custodial, but who's counting? 30 million monthly active users. It's over 7 years old. We have a lot of tools on the developer side, Infura, Truffle, Diligence, as well as Linea, which is our latest offering, a layer 2 ZK EVM, type 2 ZK EVM, which allows developers an ample space to deploy their ideas, their products, and their dApps. So really, really quickly and quite simply, what is Ethereum scaling? So effectively, there's this problem in crypto, which is called the blockchain trilemma. Simply said, you cannot have all three of these properties at the same time on a monolithic blockchain. So that's security, decentralization, and scalability. Ethereum and Bitcoin are super secure, let's say, and they are decentralized, but they don't really scale. In a similar manner, Tron or Ripple, they are they scale, they're fast, and they're secure, but they're centralized. So then you have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of a blockchain in this permissionless world? So one solution is a rollup. So as you can see, we have like the layer 1, and then we have something on top of it. So you can, in a simple manner, imagine a layer 2 / a rollup as something that's layered on top of Ethereum. This is an execution environment where transactions are batched and executed. And this is a hyper-specialized for execution and then brought back down to the settlement layer for data availability and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and it inherits the trust of Ethereum. Quick side note, which is important for everyone to be aware of, which is that rollups, which is one type of a layer 2, which layer 2 is kind of a concept. It's not a hard set definition, are not sidechains. So sidechains are effectively separate blockchains which have their own validator sets and their own trust assumptions, right? So that can mean that they're very fast, or they can be slow, or they can be a whole wide range of things, but they're not necessarily like rollups because they don't inherit the security from Ethereum, right? And as such, you can understand sidechains to be monolithic blockchains. And then there's that trade-off that you have to figure out. Within the land of rollups, there's two that I'm going to cover. I think Jin might mention some other stuff as well. There's optimistic rollups and zero-knowledge-based rollups. Again, I love these graphics because they're quite simple, and they really help you understand what's going on. So optimistic rollups are effectively rollups that try and use economic incentives to be able to make sure that things are smoothly running. So the L2 is going to submit information to the L1. If for some reason they say something that's fraudulent, you have a third party called watchers. Watchers are supposed to be like, hey, let me make sure everything is good. If something's not good, their job is to submit a fraud proof to the layer 1. And if their fraud proof is correct, so the layer 2 is acting in a malicious manner, the watcher is effectively rewarded by the slashing of the deposit of the L2. So that's a really cool model, and it comes into this idea of economic incentives. There's another camp, which are zero-knowledge-based rollups. So instead of relying on this watcher third party, zero-knowledge rollups use mathematics and computation to verify everything, and that's visualized with a validity proof. Now, examples. So optimistic rollups, you can think of Arbitrum and Optimism, and their respective, really cool layer 3 OP stack or orbit plans. And then on the zero-knowledge rollup side, you can think of effectively Starknet and ZK Sync. Now, something I won't be going into is like the whole technicals behind ZK EVMs. But the ZK EVM is effectively a way to, for developers to be able to simultaneously bring in what they've built on Ethereum to the zero-knowledge-based EVM space. And that's actually what Linea has built, and I'll go into it in a bit. So what is Consensys? And I mean, you know what Consensys is. Consensys/gaming, what's the relationship there like? Well, we have a couple products which are relevant. So you'll have MetaMask, and then you'll have Linea. So with MetaMask, what's valuable here is a MetaMask SDK. We have effectively built a library that can be installed by developers so that they can easily integrate 30 million monthly active users via MetaMask into their games. This is a game changer. It's not only relevant to games, right? We also have stuff in DeFi and whatnot, but knowing that this is a gaming-specific conference, this might be exciting for any devs here who are building something cool. So we are currently already live with Unity. We have a great partnership with the team, and we're building a Unreal Engine MetaMask SDK as well. So really, really exciting stuff, and happy to talk to anybody after the fact about potential space for collaboration. Our second area of interest is Linea. So as I mentioned, we've built effectively a rollup on top of Ethereum, the security of ETH, as well as just the scalability of a Type 2 ZK EVM, which is really, really exciting. This is effectively a space that we see developers building and deploying dApps quickly, securely, and with minimal hassle. We believe that, we don't believe this is a fact. Transaction fees are already 1/15 of that of mainnet. And there's some really, really amazing collaborations across the park with the entire Consensys suite of products, which I can't tell you too much about. Why are we interested in entertainment? Well, there's a reason why everybody here is here, right? Gaming is a fantastic use case, and content is crucial. Within content, we find that people who engage with video games have some of the most complex relationships on the internet, and that can be brought on-chain as well. We believe that gaming can bring this unique aspect of social interaction, which, there's friend tech, but it can go a bit further than that as well. So something that we're really excited about is entertainment, and particularly gaming. How do we see gaming? And this is a cool sneak peek for some people. Well, we have the Entertainment Festival that's coming up. It's going to be happening in September. There'll be an official announcement coming out soon. We've partnered with some really good teams to build something cool for you all. Our vision, however, for Linea as a general purpose rollup is to be a place for publishers to come and build great games. We have an internal team that understands and is working very hard to understand the economics for game publishers and figuring out how we can be part of that story. So again, after this, please reach out. We'd be happy to talk about potential collaborations. Enough about me. Jin has some really, really exciting announcements that he's going to be telling you about momentarily.
Hello.
Hey, man.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the wonderful presentation, Namik. So one of the things that Namik was talking about is there's a distinction between sidechains and rollups. And one of the big distinctions here is that rollups inherit security from Ethereum. And so when you actually dig down into Saga and Saga level technicals, we traditionally were a sidechain solution, and we were not rollups. However, starting today, we'll start previewing a product that lets us essentially launch layer 2 on Ethereum. So let's talk about Ethereum scaling solution. And for those of you guys who are not technical and is a little bit more on the gaming side, I apologize, but this is going to go really deep into some infrastructure. And so what are the limitations of current Ethereum scaling solutions, as mentioned, in various rollups? So rollups are still, to gamers, still expensive. It's not, even if it's 1/115th of the cost of Ethereum, when you're trying to do millions and millions of transactions that game developers are trying to push through into a network, that is still not enough. One of the biggest challenges that rollups have today is that it's very difficult to bridge, and there's specific reasons around that that makes it very difficult. There is a concept called finality in blockchain. And with various rollup technologies, the finality of this time period is quite long. It can be from up to a day to up to a week. And so between a day to a week, you can bridge an asset, but you won't really know that it went to the other side for that long time period, essentially, for a rollup today. One of the things that's interesting is rollups are still highly affected by Ethereum congestion. And if you kind of think about it, if, for example, the point of an Ethereum scaling solution is that it's supposed to perform better when there's a lot of traffic, it shouldn't be affected by the base layer also having a lot of traffic. Then it's kind of counterintuitive, right? It's no longer a scaling solution because it only works when the Ethereum chain is empty. And finally, there are some trade-offs of security and decentralization that happens depending on the configuration of the rollup. So let's go through this list. I'm going to list 4 different configurations. There's optimistic rollups, ZK rollups, validiums, and sidechains. And which one should I start first? So optimistic rollups, essentially, as mentioned, has the longest finality time period. It has about, you need to wait for, essentially, these auditors to come in. And you can't have a final chain because you need time for the auditors to come in and verify that the things on the block is valid. So optimistic rollups have very long finality periods, and therefore, bridging is very difficult to do. Optimistic rollups, however, one of the big problems also is that they use the Ethereum as a data availability. Essentially, what you're doing is you're storing these transactions, the list of transactions on Ethereum. And it gets quite expensive when Ethereum gets expensive. However, state commitment's really cheap because you're doing everything optimistically. So the goal of it is you don't have to run fraud proofs all the time. You only run it sometimes. And it's, as mentioned, not Ethereum congestion proof. It also, the nice thing is it inherits Ethereum security. With ZK rollups, it's kind of similar to optimistic rollups. The issue, however, is that while finality is a little bit faster with ZK rollups, it's still slow because you need time to generate the ZK proof, essentially, to shove into Ethereum. And that right now, in current technology, still takes about half a day to a day around. And so finality time, in a game situation, imagine if you're trying to move assets from one chain to another, from one player to another, and the player doesn't know if it went through for half a day or for a day. That's a terrible user experience. So you can't really have that ultimately. And so similarly to optimistic rollups, ZK rollups have very expensive data availability because it uses Ethereum. And state commitments are quite expensive because you need to actually run the fraud proofs on Ethereum. Validium, on the other hand, is very similar to ZK rollups, except they just cut out the DA. They just do their own DA somewhere else. So the DA, the data availability, is a little bit cheaper. And then there's a sidechain solution that Namik mentioned, which is, has really good fast finality, fast bridging. It's quite affordable in both sides. However, and it's completely Ethereum congestion proof. But it does not inherit Ethereum security. So that's like where we're at today. The ideal solution that everyone is looking for, especially in gaming too, is a chain and an infrastructure solution that can offer all of these qualities to a developer. And if you kind of look at the intersection today, there doesn't really exist one. So today I'm happy to announce Ethlets, essentially, which is a Saga-flavored Ethereum scaling solution. How does it work? So every Ethlet is born as a Saga chainlet. So if you take a look, remember, with chainlets, it's a fully EVM compatible, fully decentralized and secured by Saga validators. It has instant finality and fast bridging. It's affordable, one-click deployment, and permissionless. So as Saga, which is a chain to launch chains, you can launch chainlets as easy as possible. However, one of the problems that we mentioned is that it does not inherit Ethereum security. And so what we can do now is upgrade a chainlet into an Ethlet to actually inherit the security of Ethereum. How does this happen? It actually works very similarly to optimistic rollups. So transactions that are generated by our validators in the Saga system is essentially batched into epochs. And an epoch is, let's say, about a day in the Saga system. During that time, the blocks have Saga-level security. So we have a mainnet. We have a certain amount of security that's guaranteed by the Saga validators. And at the end of that epoch, essentially, a challenge period begins. So the challenge period is exactly equal to one epoch or one day. And essentially, the blocks are generated like normal again. And both epoch 1 and epoch 2 essentially have Saga security. at the end of Epoch 2, that marks the point in which Epoch 1's challenge period is over. So now what we can do is commit the state hash of the end of Epoch 1 into Ethereum. And this is the point at which the chain data inherits full Ethereum security. So Epoch 1 is now Ethereum security. Epoch 2 is now Saga security. And it goes on. So when you have Epoch 3, when Epoch 3 is over, Epoch 2 will inherit Ethereum security, and Epoch 3 will inherit Saga security and maintain Saga security as well. So why does this matter? Why is this nice? So Ethlets, unlike other scaling solutions, have the best quality of ETH scaling solutions. It's affordable. Because our validators have its own DA, it does not need to rely on Ethereum for DA. Fraud proofs are only generated and run optimistically, and we can kind of do this only because we have this system in which we have a set of validators that are validating each other. So one of the nice qualities of all of this is that we do not need this external auditor function because we already have that. We have a validator set. So every single one of the validators are actually auditing each other. So we do not need this external auditor, which is an extra person in the actual economic system that you need to depend on. Prior to the challenge period ending, you have still significant amount of economic security with Saga security. After the challenge period, you now have full Ethereum security, same as optimistic rollups. And the kicker here is that now you have instant finality, which means you have instant bridging, and your entire infrastructure is pretty independent from Ethereum, and you do not need to depend on Ethereum congestion to determine whether or not your chain has blocks or not. So I just filled in Saga Ethlets into the top right corner here, and you can kind of see it has all the qualities that you're kind of looking for. So TLDR, sorry for those who are not into super nerdy, deep roll-up and blockchain technologies. I used to be like you, but now I can't help myself, so I can only talk about these kinds of things because I have been nerd sniped by all these crypto people. So what's the TLDR? Saga is now able to launch permissionlessly and automatically, just the same as we have with our Saga chainlets, Ethereum L2s with full decentralized sequencers and a ZK fraud-proof system. So what does this mean? Like, this is still complicated, right? This is a sentence which is short and compact, but it's still kind of mumbo jumbo if you don't care. So what we're bringing to Ethereum is boundless performance, low and predictable costs, collaboration, and opening up collaborations across all the ecosystems. And it's really built by builders for builders. So from our perspective, we're helping Ethereum scale further and further into a configuration that we believe is a much better configuration for scaling out that platform. So we have some high-impact collaborations that we are collaborating with the Consensys team on, and we're kind of in the stages of exploring at this moment. So one of the things that we want to do is have MetaMask compatibility. So MetaMask browser extension and MetaMask SDK support to interact with everything that's going on with ethlets and chainlets. We would like to collaborate, and we're exploring collaborations with the Linea team on the ZK technology used for optimistic fraud proofs. Infura, so Infura is kind of like a data solution that exists that, but because the configuration of how Saga is there to launch thousands and thousands of chains, it's very hard to make traditional infrastructure work very well in our system. And so we would like to have some conversations with the Infura team and their efforts in the decentralized infrastructure network to figure out if there's ways that we can collaborate to make things a little bit better on that front. And of course, Saga Gaming, we would love to introduce more and more games into the Ethereum ecosystem and share essentially in the mind share of that. So that's the conclusion of Ethlets. I hope you are just as excited as I am. And if you're curious about any of the design decisions that we have decided to in designing Ethlets, come talk to me, and I would love to nerd snipe about different kinds of scaling solutions. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time.